got into this horrible accident, breaking both of his legs. And so I took like 5 months off where I just wasn't posting anything. And then after that, the gap got wider and wider because I'm like, I'm not this person anymore. What am I supposed to talk about? There's different things going on. I don't even know how to promote myself anymore. And it just kept like turning and turning. And I was just like, oh my God, a year has gone by and I haven't picked up a pen, not even to save my life. So I transition from book writing into this because I was like, there is no possible way I can continue that work in progress. Like now it's just garbage. I just have to start over. I'm probably just going to keep the book art and do an entirely different concept. So I actually wanted to share some of the reviews that your book has gotten. So one of the reviews stated it was a journey that they had no idea they needed to or even wanted to take. And that sounds good to me. Another lady shared after reading The Girl from Pompeii, I've given up alcohol and hope to never touch it again. I felt so inspired and motivated after reading The Girl from Pompeii that I have quit my old job and started my own business. So we have different reviews, and it is very much so reminiscent to Samantha from Sex and the City, having been an alcoholic and drug addict, and you just decide, hey, I'm going to go ahead and read a book. So congratulations, UK Samantha. So I think that this is something that I'm very much looking forward to promote, and I want everybody here to follow Bryony on Twitter. Do you have any other social media that you want people to follow you on?
Yes, I have on Facebook, I have the girl from Pompey, and on Instagram, I am Best Bryony.
Okay, so I'm gonna include that in the description for this podcast, so you guys can go ahead and follow her. And her Twitter handle would be at Bryony_best, which will also be included in the description. And I want to thank Bryony for sitting down and talking with us today about struggles with mental health, addiction, and trauma. And I hope that everyone who listens to this decides to go ahead and pick up a copy of The Girl from Pompeii. And I really hope that this does well to promote the book because I think this is something that everybody should get their hands on, whether addiction is something that you're struggling with or not. Because if mental health is something that you're looking to cope with, whether this be an example of something you shouldn't do or this is an example of something you're struggling with, I think it's important to get different insights and see what works for you because we're all just trying to get better. So with that being said, thank you for joining us, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right then. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll do some reflection on the interview. Stay tuned. Oh, and we are back from the break. You guys, I don't know about you, but that was a very interesting interview. I just absolutely fucking love it when people are so candid and so upfront with what's going on. I think that it can be embarrassing and it can be hard to put yourself out there, but once it's out there, it's like it's freeing. Other people know, other people, don't get me wrong, I don't like anybody knowing my business, my thoughts, and some of these things that I'm saying out loud really kind of feels like verbal cancer. But I do feel a level of freedom, and I almost have a little air of superiority because I feel like I can put out there the shit that I'm going through and not give a fuck. Oh God, it's freeing. It's also because I am doing this as I'm doing this podcast, I am sitting here in my room, okay, with my background. I'm talking into a ring light and into a camcorder and into my GarageBand app thing, and there's no audience. There's nobody looking at me. Now, if there were somebody looking at me, my God, would that be horrendous? That would be terrible. I would probably die of embarrassment and I would turn not just red, I would turn puce. But here, hearing my voice in my headphones, it's just a different level of free. And I think that discussing this with Bryony, it it was like a mini audience, but because she had something to give back to me, I was able to give my honesty to her. And it wasn't absolutely humiliating. So I think this is great, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy listening to this episode. But I do want to touch on something so Bryony discussed that she had childhood trauma, as like everybody else. Everybody has their own versions of childhood trauma, and we try so hard we don't want to fuck up our kids. And I actually had this mentality that when my kids were very, very little, I'm talking about like before they could even talk, I was like, you know what? It's okay that I'm not okay right now because they're not even going to remember it. But now my oldest is 5 and she can tell when I'm sad. She can tell when I've been crying. And it's more of a time for me to clean up more than anything else, clean up my attitude. I thought by now, 5 years in, then my life would be better. And it's not. If anything, I can say it's, substantially worse, actually. A lot of people look at me and they're like, oh my God, but you're so young. You have so much time. You have kids and everything is great because you're so smart. Being smart doesn't do shit for me because if I'm not succeeding, if I'm not using my intelligence for something to get me somewhere higher, if I'm still struggling with money and I'm still struggling with what kind of fucking parent I am, then being smart didn't do shit for me. Oh, but you're so pretty. Well, that doesn't change. That doesn't change anything. It doesn't change that my love life is in shambles. It doesn't change that there are things that I'm uncomfortable with about myself. It doesn't change any of it. Some people love my hair. For me, I keep it tied into a bun religiously unless there is some reason for me to showcase it, which is almost never. I also have concerns about my weight. I'm not happy with it. Oh, but you've had 3 kids back to back. That's like you saying that there is an excuse for me to feel that pouch that I have hanging in front of my body, that the stretch marks that I have, that everything, right? Oh, well, those are just the marks of a woman, the marks of a woman. It doesn't change the fact that I don't like it. It doesn't change the fact that I don't like how it looks because at some point I had a smooth stomach. I had arms that didn't make me look like a fucking flying squirrel. I'm finding grays in my hair, and I told myself I was going to age gracefully, but at the time of telling myself this, I didn't think that the grays would start to show up at 27. We all have trauma, and this is all stuff that I'm trying so hard not to push onto my children. And then I think about my mom. See, my mom, when I was growing up, she looked like a very confident woman. Now, knowing what I know, I would almost bet everything in the world that she was struggling with mental health. Because even though there are distinguishable differences, my mother stayed in her room and would play on her computer for hours. Maybe when I was a toddler, my mother sat down and she played with me, and we would stand on the kitchen. I would stand on the kitchen chair, and I would do dishes with her. We would sing and we'd dance to music. After my parents got divorced, after love life failures, after having to go back to work and not being able to stay home anymore, all of these little things, financial struggle. My mom wasn't that person anymore. She was angry. God, my mom was so angry. Sorry, I have allergies, you guys. She was angry, and she was always tired from work, and she never really had time to play, and so many little things that I can point out now, and I wish I could give my mother a hug and say, God, my mom didn't have girlfriends over. My mom never went out either with girlfriends. In that aspect, I'm very similar with my mom. She had a friend, Margie, or she had these friends here and there that sometimes she would talk. When she would talk on the phone, I would be like, God, when my mom talks on the phone, it's so goddamn long. But now when I talk on the phone, I get upset when my kids bother me or when my kids get sick, because I'm like, I don't get it. I'm here with you guys all the time. I don't go out. I don't do my nails. I don't do my hair. I'm not a clubbing kind of mom. I'm not a partying kind of mom. I'm not even a girls' night out once a month kind of mom. I am an in your face, we do pizza Fridays all the time kind of mom. You are lucky to have the kind of mom that can drop you off personally at school every single day and will be here when you get home from school. I make desserts sometimes. I take you guys to the park. When money is better, I take you guys to aquariums, I take you guys to zoos, and I do everything with you that I wish I would have had done with me when I was a kid. And it's not because my mom didn't want to, but also financial opportunity was a little bit easier for me to come by than it was for my mom. But now looking back on it, the anger that my mom had, it was because her life wasn't where it was supposed to be. And I think I mentioned this in a previous podcast. When your life isn't where you want it to be, that shit can destroy your soul. I feel bad for my mom because now she's a little bit financially better. She doesn't have the struggle of single parenting. Her life is a little bit more free now, so maybe that's why she's happier now. But maybe she lives every day knowing what kind of parent she was when I was growing up. And I don't know if she feels like she was a good one or a bad one. As a matter of fact, I do know. She talks to me sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, I feel like you're just telling me this because of this. But she knows. She's like, maybe I wasn't the best mom. And I think my mom wishes that I had another mom, and I don't. I just wish that she had been a better version of herself. And had I known then what my mom was going through, I probably wouldn't have been such an asshole to her. I probably would have been a little bit more understanding. Now, it is every parent's job, It's not that when you are a parent, you are no longer a person, but while it's easy to forget that parents are people too, you now have an obligation where you are responsible for somebody else's happiness that doesn't have control over their own right now. You still have to maintain this person, these little people that need you. And sometimes that means putting you and your needs aside because you are an adult and you know how to compartmentalize. You know that, listen, this isn't going away. I can deal with it another time, to go ahead and deal with the happiness for that child. Because it is not until you become an adult yourself that you realize, fuck, my parents really did put a lot on the line for me. That being said, a lot of these traumas that we were discussing in the interview, I think about stuff like that and I'm like, God, how is it possible that not more of us are all fucked up, falling asleep in streets and day drinking because some of these things. But then I sit there and like I said in the interview, other people have different vices. Some people incessantly do makeup. Some people eat like there's no tomorrow. Some people exercise until their fucking muscles shred. Everybody has a vice. Just not every vice is out there ready to kill you and stop you from functioning. And the people that don't have vices, congratulations, you guys are a different breed. You guys might just be mentally healthy. But here we are now, and there are so many things that I wish that I could change. There are so many things I wish I could have given my mother so she could be a happier parent. And so she wouldn't, I learned this term from my cousin today, trauma dump on her children. Because there are some times where my mother was super hard, but then I think about her upbringing and I'm just like, nobody taught her how to be a mom. How the hell was she's supposed to be a good one? And my mother was overall decent. There were things that I could say. Like I said, I never lived in a shelter. My mom still has the apartment that I was basically born into. My mother would have gone to bat for her kids in school. She totally would have. And she did. She did sometimes. And my mother didn't go out. I was tired of my mother because she was home every single day. The only place she left was to work. I encouraged my mother to go out. She didn't. So that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed the interview. Today is Friday. I have absolutely nothing to do for my birthday and no one to spend it with, but with my children. So instead of harping on the fact that I have nothing to do for my birthday, I am going to enjoy it with my children because I swear to God, I tried to hide from them. It was my birthday. I really did. But then my father opened his mouth and I'm just like, oh my God, now they know. They're going to make a big deal out of it. But you know what? The fact that they're going to make a big deal out of my birthday,